Hello and welcome to Easy Math channel. This week we will go through the concept of LCM, which is least common multiple, also known as LCD, which is least common divisor. Um, so we will cover two things. First is we'll go over some examples to understand how do we calculate or how do we solve for LCM, and I'll go through two different methods. And then second, we'll see like what type of questions when you see you would know that you have to use LCM. And this is in continuation. This video, this video is continuation to my last week video where we discussed about GCF or GCD, which is greatest common factors, greatest common divisor. It will use this video will use some of that concept, but if you have not seen that video, I would highly recommend to pause this video right now and watch my GCD or GCF video, and then come back to the LCM or the LCD or this video later. Cool. So the general definition of LCM or LCD is something which is, so let's say if I have two number A and B, so LCM would be the smallest possible integer. So a number, a positive number that is divisible by both A and B. And we'll go through this statement again and again when we go through a couple of examples, but this is the general definition of what an LCM is. So let's go through a couple of examples. So let's say we have two numbers, 12 and 8, and I have to find what's the LCM of 12 and 8. And we'll go through two methods, as I said earlier. So first method is, let's say we have 12 and 8 in this. We will list down the table of 12 and table of 8. So 12 is 12 times 1 is 12, it's 24, 36, and so on and so forth. And 8 is 8, 8 times 2 is 16, 8 times 3 24, 32, and so on and so forth. So method 1 is when we get a number in both the table, which is 24 in this case, that's our LCM. So we can see that 24 is present in both 12's table and then in 8's table. That becomes our LCM. So if we go back to the statement, this is the smallest possible integer that is divisible by A and B. So our A in this case was 12, our B in this case was 8, and the smallest possible integer is 24, as we figured out. So this says this smallest possible integer is divisible by 2, so you can divide 24 by 2 and you get 2. And also 24 is divisible by 8 and you get 3. So that's what the statement means. So this is the first method, which is we write down the table of 12 and 8 and then find a number that is present in both the table. Second method is writing the prime factors, so representing 12 and 8 as a multiple of all prime number. So we can write 12 as 4 times 3, which is 2 times 2 is 4 times 3. So this is all prime numbers and all prime factors. And 4 can be written as 4 times 2 or 2 times 2 and times 2. So in terms of LCM, we will first find what's the common factors and we'll write them together, so which is 2 and then 2, and then we'll also multiply the rest of the numbers which are not common, so 3 times 2, and we can see that it's 2 times 2 is 4, oops, and then 3 times 2 is 6, and we get 24, the same number. Now I personally prefer this method more over the table because in this case it's just a small number, so it's easier to know what the table is. But as in when we go through like bigger numbers, it's hard to like remember or it's just time consuming to list down all the numbers for a given or all the tables for that given number. So I personally prefer the prime factor. It's just easier. Let's go over the second example, which is 12 and 80. So all the prime factors for 12 and as we saw before, it's 2 times 2 times 3. And for 80 is, the easier way we can write is as 8, 8 times 10, and 8 is nothing but 2 times 2 times 2, and 5 is nothing but 2 times 5. So prime factor 2 times 2 times 2 times 2 times 5 for 80, Again, we will find the common factor, which is 2. So 2 times another common factor, which is 2. And then we'll write down all the rest of the numbers. So which is 3, and then this, which is 2 times 5. And if we solve for this, we get 2 times 2 is 4, 3 times 2 is 6, and 2 times 5 is 10. 4 times 6 is 24 times 10, which is 240. So 240 is the LCM of 12, 80. And you can see now, if we were to write down the tables for 12 and 80, it would be, too much of time consuming. So prime factor is just another easier way of solving for LCM. Let's look at the last example, which is 30 and 45. So 30 can be written as 5 times 6, which is 5 times 2 times 3. And 45 can be written as 5 times 9, which is 5 times 3 times 3. Cool. So first is write down all the common factor, which is 5, and then 3, and then we'll write down all the remainder, or all the other numbers which are not common again. So we get 5 times 3 is 15, 2 times 3 is 6, and 5 times 6 is 90. So again, LCM of 30 and 45 is 90, and that's how you solve for LCM. Cool. I hope these couple of examples were easier to kind of understand how to solve for LCM. Now let's move on to the bonus part, which is when to use LCM. So you might see a couple of different type of problems. So if the problem is asking about, an event that is or will be repeating over and over, that's when you use LCM. Or the second is when you have to figure out something that will happen again at the same time. That's also when you use LCM. And we'll go over an example of, of something that will happen again and at the same time, and how to use LCM. So let's say this is our question, which is Ben exercises 12 days and Isabel exercises every 8 days. And then Ben and Isabel exercise today. And how many days until it will be, how many days will it be until they exercise together again? So this is represent this part. So which is we have to figure out something that will happen again at the same time. So that's what the question is asking. How many days will it be until they exercise again? So this says that we have to use LCM. Now, we know that Ben exercises every 12 days and Isabel exercises every 8 days. So in order to find how many days will it be until they exercise together again, we have to find LCM of 12 and 8. And we know from our previous exercise that for 12 and 8, the LCM is 24, or we will solve it again just for fun. So we can write 12 as 2 times 2 times 3, which is 4 times 3, and 8 as 2 times 2 times 2. So 1 is all the common factor again together, and then rest of the factors. So which is 4 times 6 times 24. So the answer would be, again, in 24 days, both Ben and Isabel will exercise together again. So this is our LCM. So I hope this concept kind of made it easier for you to understand, one is how to solve LCM, and second, given the type of problem, you would be able to figure out, okay, if the problem requires using LCM or not. So I hope this video was useful. And if you do like this video, please subscribe to my channel and please leave your comments below. And also feel free to share this video with your friends. Thank you.